thank you for watching this video. This video is all about ISO 27001 2022 edition. And the what we are doing today is to explain the 7 compulsory um, clauses, mandatory clauses. You know, ISO 27001 has 2 sections. We have the mandatory clauses, 7 of them, and then we have the Annex A that has the controls. So the purpose of this video is to just explain, what the 7 clauses are talking about, how to implement them, what documentation is needed. And so remember, but before then, don't forget that ISO 27001, this is the latest edition. I'm talking directly from the standard itself, 2022 edition. And the primary purpose is that it provides, it specifies requirement for establishing an information, ISMS, Information Security Management System, which is ISMS. That is, so it gives you a guide on how you can establish an information security management system in place. And then it has the scope, the normative references, the terms and conditions, but this is not what we are doing today. We're just dealing with the 7 clauses. And the 7 clauses start from number 4. So number 4 is the first clause we are looking at. So for you to, like I said, for you to establish or maintain, get certified to ISO 27001, and then continuously maintaining it after you are certified. These are the things you must do compulsorily. So the 7 clauses are mandatory. So clause 1 is the context of the organization. Context of the organization. So before you establish an information security management system, you need to understand the context of the organization, which is talking about the internal and the external issues that are relevant for the purpose of establishing information security management system. What are some of the issues that are relevant to, to the ISMS? I'm going to be using ISMS going forward. And then the most important thing is that you need to understand what is your business environment that you operate. What are the market conditions? What are the regulatory, landscape? Who are your regulator, the market condition? By having understanding of all that, you'll be able to, know the kind of threats that you face, the kind of risk that you face, the kind of, what is required of you to do, because you're going to be satisfying different different stakeholders. So you need to have understanding. So you put it down, and then that is 4. So number 4 has 4.1, and then 4.2 it talks about understanding the need, and expectation of interested parties. Remember, you use the PDCA approach. That is plan, do, check, act. So the 7 clauses, are going to explain it using that PCDA, plan, do, check, act. So this all from here now, we're talking about planning. We're not doing anything yet. All you are doing is planning, and then which documentation is part of the planning. Holding meetings is part of the planning. So you need to understand what are the issues facing our organization, both internally and externally. You have to also have then the next one is 4.2. Remember, we're still on number 4, which is the first one. The next one is 4.2, understanding the need and expectation of interested parties. So we're talking about interested parties that are relevant. Don't forget, they must be relevant to the ISMS you want to establish. You want to put cybersecurity in place and establish a system of security. Then what are the needs of you have to put into consideration the needs and expectation of your interested parties. So interested parties here, so what you need to do is to come up with a list, just document. You need to prepare a document, that put down who are the interested parties. So interested party here could be your customers, employees, competitors, suppliers, regulators, the government, authority. These are the interested parties. These are the people that will be relevant to the ISMS. So you come up with a list. So what you do is, for example, you now say, okay, the heading, this is the list, or you come up with a document, this is the list of our interested parties. And then you say, okay, our cost. So once you write down all the interested parties, it doesn't end there. You need to put what are their expectations. If you say, for example, I have my customer here, what are the expectations of my customer? They want the information I'm going to hold about them. I'm going to have a transaction business with them. Whatever we do is to be confidential. We'll keep their information confidential. We ensure that we protect their information. That is the expectation. So you put customers, the expectation is to protect their information. And then government, the expectation is that we do our ISMS in compliance with the law of the land. So that is the expectation. So that is how you come up with um, the list of your interested parties, and also what is the expectation of each of these interested parties. And then that is 4.2. So remember, you are going to document all this. And then go to 4.3. We're still on the first clause, determining the scope, of the ISMS. So before you even talk about getting certified, you need to come up with the scope. The scope here talk about the boundaries and applicability. In other words, what does this information security management system, what does it cover? So you're going to come up with a scope statement. A scope statement. A document showing our scope statement. So in other words, what does it cover? Does it cover all our systems, all our operations, all our division? Maybe you have divisions all over the world. You have establishment, you have branches all over the world. Does it cover everywhere, or you are going to just limit it to the head office alone? So that is what the scope. Come up with a scope statement. Does it cover all our system, all our network, all our staff, all our operation? So you document the scope. Probably you can say, okay, because in the UK, we're going to cover only the systems, only the network, only the offices, only the operation in the UK. And then for this purpose of this ISMS, or you can cover the entire organization worldwide. So it depends on you. So you come up, but there are certain things you should take into consideration. Remember 4.1, 4.2 talk about interested parties. Say you should, when determining the scope, consider what you already put down as your interested parties. So whether the scope covers them as well. So the scope is definitely, the scope must cover them. And then also, very importantly, number the C is talking about, also consider in determining your scope, consider dependencies, interfaces and dependencies between activities performed by organization and those performed by other organizations. What it means that interfaces and dependencies, in other words, there are some activities you will perform by yourself. There are some you are going to outsource. And then, so how do they relate? If you outsource, for example, you do your payroll by yourself, but you outsource your other um tax and accounting functions, or you do your accounting functions by yourself. Or you outsource your payroll, you outsource your cloud services, your internet providers, you outsource those ones. You can't do everything by yourself. So in other words, what it's trying to say is their dependencies. What are those things you perform by yourself, and what are those things that is performed by third party that you outsource? You so take into consideration, does it cover those activities? So you have to state in your scope statement that this scope covers activities that are outsourced. And so that is what it mean by that. Anywhere you see shall be available as documented information. You see, shall be available as documented information. That means you must have what is called a documented scope statement. So because there are compulsory documents you must keep. So this is one of them. So let us go to 4.4, information security management system. So that is what we're talking about, the ISMS itself. So you have to come up with a procedure of how you are going to establish. If you establish it, how are you going to implement? How are you going to maintain and continuously improve it? You have to come up with how you want to continuously improve it. But it's not all about establishing a security system. How do you want to keep it? Need to be improved, it need to be maintained going forward. Things will change. So that is the first clause. So we're looking at clause 2, that is number 5, leadership. Leadership here talks about what is the role of leadership. So you have to be sure that um, leadership demonstrates commitment, leadership commitment. Normally, people that are getting certified, remember this, the what we are doing now is not how to get certified. I have another video on how to get certified to ISO 27001. Yeah, but we're just explaining the clauses. So normally, if you are getting certified, you must have a commitment letter from leadership showing how they are committed, how they will ensure that these things succeed, how they ensure that they will support the process to ensure that they will make sure that everybody understand what is going on. They're going to give financial support. They're going to provide the necessary resources that are needed. So leadership need to come up with a commitment, and then so these are all the commitment that are, you have a copy of the standard. If you don't have a copy of the standard, you can, drop drop a comment, drop request for it by dropping a comment on the comment section of this video. We can send you a copy for free. And also leadership and commitment. So you have to demonstrate um, top management. We're talking about top management. Ensure that they are in support of this. Not just that, they also must ensure that the goals and objectives of this information security management system, align with the goals of the organization. So they are compatible with the goals of the organization, and then ensure integration. I'm not going to read everything so that I don't do a very long video. So they're going to ensure that the resources that are needed, they must provide resources. So it's like a letter, just come up with a letter saying management support, then follow the guideline on this standard. That they're going to make sure that they provide the resources needed. They are going to communicate effectively, the all everything that need to be done. Everybody must be aware. They carry everybody along by communicating, you know, and then direct support, contribute effectively to the success of the and then they also come up with improvement. How do they want to improve it? They want to ensure that they have every rules and responsibility clearly defined. So and then so that is management must demonstrate that commitment. Another thing management must do is that they must come up with an information security a policy. You have to establish a policy, put a policy in place. We call it information security policy. You must have a policy. Put that policy in place, and that policy what should show how you want to manage the entire ISMS, how you want to manage the entire ISMS. It talks about, you know, the purpose of the ISMS, what need to be done, how it will be communicated, how you want to protect, how you want to ensure that you continuously improve, and then this policy, according to it must be communicated. Must be communicated to everybody. Everybody should know that there is an information security management system in place, including your employee, including your new hirees, your new employee, including contractors and anybody doing business with you must be aware. So that is why they say the policy must be communicated and continuously improved. And then it must be available also as documented information. You see, anywhere you see available as documented information, it means that it's compulsory. You are going to have that thing documented, because when auditors come, that is one of the things they're going to ask for. Where are the documented information? So, and then it says must be available to interested parties. Everybody, your customers, everybody must know that this is your information security management system. This is the policy on how you want to run the entire system. And then, so we are still on 5. This is leadership. So one of the things that leadership would do, leadership commitment. Another thing that leadership would do is that you have to come up with organizational roles and responsibilities. We are still on number 5, organizational roles and responsibilities. So what it means is that you have to assign clear roles and responsibilities for the ISMS, ensuring that everyone understands their part in maintaining this ISMS. What it means that you have to come up, say it's the same document, come up with say in another heading. Most organizations they have what is called ISMS document that contains everything in one document. Yes, everything is in one document. So all the 7 clauses, they have a very robust ISMS document, and so they now they now put different headings, different headings. So this section is for roles and in accordance with these 7 clauses. Everything is in one document. Yeah, some people can maintain separate documents for the 7 clauses. So they have another heading, organizational roles and responsibilities, and then what it means is that you have to define role, make sure everybody understands their roles. So you can say, okay, like for example, we have a CISO. CISO is to make sure that they ensure that he oversees everybody, ensure that we have a security in place. We have cyber security team, we have the IT team, we have the incident management team, we have the procurement team that will ensure that the suppliers, so you have to come up with roles and responsibilities regarding this ISMS, assign roles, clearly define the job description or responsibility of each of those people you are going to put down there, the CISO, the CTO, the cybersecurity, the IT guy, cybersecurity analyst, the help desk. So you have assigned roles and responsibility to them, what each of them need to do. And these roles must be communicated to them. They should know what is expected of them per time. So that is the second clause. So the third clause is planning. Remember, we are using PDCA. So we are still dealing with the P, that is the planning, plan, do, check, act. So we're still on the planning stage. Yeah, planning, like I said before, planning stage is all about, having meeting, reviewing record, documenting, writing document, writing documents. So writing policies and procedures. So planning, the planning, that is the sixth clause, number 6, which is the third clause. Remember, we say there are 7. So the planning here is the actions to address risk and opportunities. So what we are going to document here is that how do you plan to manage risk? Because talking about cyber security risk, how do you plan to manage this risk? So these are the way you document it. But then in documenting, what are you going to do is that you identify asset and risk and opportunity related to the ISMS. Anything any risk relating to information security. Here we're not talking about anti-money laundering risk and all those ones. We're talking about risks that are related to information security. So you're going to document how did you want to manage risk, how you want to mitigate risk, how would you want to, if there are then assess risk. So it gives us a guideline, and then yeah, so it gives us a guideline on how you want to manage risk. You have to come up with a document. And then in number 6, one of 6.1.2, we're still talking about number 6, which is planning. That is the third one. Don't confuse yourself with, remember, the clauses are 7, and it starts from number 4 to number 10 on the standard. We have dealt with number 4 and 5. This is number 6. So so the 6.1.2, information security risk assessment, you have to document, to come up with a risk policy. That's what it's trying to say. Risk management policy. And in your policy, these are things that you must have there. How do you want to, what is your risk acceptance criteria must be documented, how you want to perform risk assessment. See, criteria, how you want to perform risk assessment, everything must be documented. For example, are we going to use qualitative or quantitative? You must say, okay, this is our risk acceptance criteria, you must document it, or risk tolerance limit. So if you want to assess risk, any risk above this level, we must do something about it. So you have to put all those things down, ensure they are repeatable. They are repeatable here means and consistent, valid, and comparable results. They are repeatable. What it means that once you document it, anybody that want to assess risk, any type of risk in the organization, must follow the same process that you have documented. And then it now tells you, it now gives you guideline on how you want, on how you want, or how you assess risk. These are the guideline of how you assess risk. It tells you, you identify all the, asset and all that, and then you identify the risk owner. Then after identification of those asset vulnerability and all that, then you analyze you do what is called risk analysis. Risk analysis talks about what is the probability and the likelihood, so and then after that you evaluate the risk. So it gives you a guideline on how to conduct risk assessment. So these are the things you would document. This is how we want to conduct our risk assessment. We analyze, we identify, we analyze, we evaluate, and then so it also tells you that you shall retain this document as a documented information. And then after you have done your risk assessment based on this guideline, and then you have to come up with risk treatment. Because once you assess risk, the result of risk assessment is that you are going to have what is called your level of risk or risk score. And then so once you have that's why it tells you that you have to take into account the risk assessment result. In 6.1.2, we did it gives you a guideline of how to do risk assessment. And then in 6.1.3, it's telling you that it is time to now treat those risks, reduce those risks, or treat or whatever. And then if it's above your risk acceptance criteria, so you should take into consideration the risk assessment result. And then you have to come up with a guideline on how you want to treat risk. So it determines how to use control. You're going to use controls. Treating risk or reducing risk treatment, use controls, and the controls are in the Annex A, which is stated here. It's in the Annex A of this same standard. But the system, the standard also allows you to, to use controls from any other standard. It must not be that all the control you want to deploy it must come from here, as long as it protects you. But it only tells you that let the controls you use, if it's not as it's stated in an SA, you have to take into consideration, the controls in an SA, that the controls you are using, they agrees with the controls in an SA. That's why you see here that note, an SA contains a list of possible information security controls. Users of this document are directed to an SA to ensure that no necessary information security are overlooked. That means it also tells you that you can design your control as required, or identify them from any other sources. It must not be from an SA, but they must be compatible with the ones in an SA, because remember, you are getting certified to ISO 27001. So anybody that's going to audit you is going to audit you based on the controls in an SA. So if you're using control from any other source, it must agree with the controls in an SA. That's what it's trying to tell you here. So you come up with how you want to treat risk, and then you come up with a statement of applicability. That's another document. The statement of applicability. You have to come up with a statement of applicability. That statement of applicability, you have to list all the controls in an SA in that document on the left side, and then you have another column to say whether are you implementing this control. For example, you have control 1 is a do background check. Are you implementing it? You say yes, or you say no, and then you have to put another column on that document showing what is your reason for including it. You have to put the reason, because we want to protect our account, and then whether the controls are implemented or not. You have to, if they're not implemented, you have to state why. If they're implemented, you have to state why. So either way, you have to state the reason for implementing or not implementing. If you didn't implement it, what's the reason why you are not implementing it? You have to also explain. So that is the statement of applicability. And then you come up with what is called the risk treatment plan. All these are documentation. You have statement of applicability, how you want to assess risk. These are all documentation. Remember, they shall be retained as documented information as well. And then 6.2, still on planning. So you have to define your security objectives. Your security objectives. Your security objectives talks about what are the objective of you establishing an ISMS. You must state them. For example, you can say we want to ensure that we protect our customer record, we have minimum incident, we ensure that our employees are trained and no mistakes, no error, we minimize attacks. You list all the objectives, and you now come up, you say list the objectives, and and a plan of how you want to achieve this objective. So you have what they call an objective statement, also part of the ISMS documentation. And then they say the normal objective must be measurable, can be monitored, communicated to everybody, it must be available as a documented information. So you have to have a document showing the objective or include it as part of the ISMS document, in objective. So what should be done, what resources are required, who's responsible for what, how you told that. In other words, as you put your objective down, it doesn't end there. You have to say, how do you plan to achieve this objective? What will you do to achieve this objective? Who will do what? What resources will you need? Is it tool? Will you need a identity management system to achieve it? You need a password management system. Who's going to be responsible for what? And then, when will it be completed? How, so objective. So you have objectives set out and how you want to achieve those objectives. So and then planning of changes. In other words, that's 6.3, the same number 6. In other words, definitely things will change, and you ensure that you have a process of if things are changing, you want to change your process, you want to change your system, you have to go through how do you want to implement those changes. Normally, people go through the change management system. So let's go to this the next clause, which is the number 7, support. Support here means that you need to also remember we are still talking about PDCA, talking about support. So support here talks about how you are going to provide the necessary resources, both human and financial resources, to support the implementation of this ISMS. So it talks about resources first. Talks about money. Let me say money, yeah, equipment. Then it talks about competence, the staff. You need to recruit IT team, cybersecurity team, to ensure. So you have to demonstrate that you have. So normally, your people show this in terms of certification. They show this by way of organizational chart. So you have organizational chart. This is the CISO. This is the information security director, manager, officer, analyst, showing the organization, showing your staff, to show their competence level. Some of them can even say what are their certification for each of them, but you can show this by having an organizational chart, organogram. And then so that is how you demonstrate, support by leadership of the organization. And then remember from support here, we're talking about the doing phase now. So we have plan, do, check at PDCA. Number 6, we are finished with the planning. This is the doing now. The doing that is to start action, provide the money, provide the equipment, hire people, and then document them, and then do your training, annual training. So we are in the doing phase now. You have to do what is called compulsory training. Train your staff. You have to establish an annual training program where you compulsorily train your staff every year. So that is what is called awareness. And then still on 7.1, communication. You have to establish a process of communication. How do you want to communicate? A mechanism both internally and externally. How do you want to communicate, this ISMS, your information, your document? How do you want to communicate it? Are you going to be communicating with WhatsApp? Are you going to communicating with Teams, with Microsoft Teams, or with WhatsApp? Are you going to be, communication both internally? How do you want to communicate with your external people? What should be communicated? What should we communicate? When to communicate? How to communicate? So what it means that you can say, okay, there are such sensitive information that should not be communicated outside the organization. So you document all this based on your information classification. These are public, these are restricted, but not just that. Any other means of communication. Some company will say, don't use, WhatsApp for business, for organization. We don't want it. So you put it as a law. So you document what you want to communicate with by what means. You can say about communication, don't communicate business with phone. It must be on Teams only. So you document it. And then we have what is called 7.1, 7.5, still under support, documented information. So documented information is all the policies you are going to write, all the procedures you are going to write, everything we've talked about. These are all your documented information. So here you are going to state your documented information. How do you want to, what is your pattern of documenting? We're going to use Microsoft Word for documenting. We're going to have a standard font size. Some people can say, okay, we're going to use a particular font size, particular character size. So all our documentation must be uniform. Not that somebody's writing using another format. So you have to come up with a format. In your documenting, we are going to write our policy. Some people will say we have a policy template. We have a procedure. That's why company come up with template for documentation. So you have to agree all these templates. And then how do you want to create? How do you want to update? Are you going to have version? What format? How do you want to review? How do you want to control your documented information for information that you have, like your policies, your procedure, your scope? How do you want to document them? Where do you want to maintain them? You have to, you come up with a repository. You can have a folder. This is a folder where we are going to keep all our information security management documents. So you have to agree on the folder, all your policies. Some people have policy repository where they document all their policies. And then you come up with that. This is where we do where can we find what? So you establish like where do you want to store them? How do you want to preserve them? How long do you want to retain them? You have to determine all that in document. How do you want to control your document? Which document can go out as public? Which document cannot go out? Which document has to be just within the staff? Which document cannot share? So how do you want to maintain? How do you want to update it? So you have to put version control and all that. So you have to come up with how you want to maintain all your documents. That is the procedure. And then number 8, clause, that's operation. Remember, we are in the doing phase now. Plan, do, operation. Operation is now, you are now implementation. So here, remember in clause 6, we talk about planning. But here we're talking about implementation, or what you have planned, implement them. So in planning, talk about, remember in planning, we talk about how you want to assess risk. But in operation, it's time for you to now conduct your risk assessment, conduct it. You have planned it, you have documented how you want to do it. Now it's now for you to now do it. So conduct your risk assessment. In like you talk about, you make reference to 6.1. In 6.1.2, talk about how we documented how we want to conduct risk assessment. Now it's telling you now to do the actual work, put it into practice, conduct your risk assessment. After conducting your risk assessment, make sure you have it as the result. What is the result that you got? You have to document it you have to document all the risk assessment that you have done. It can be in a risk register. Then the result, then what is the result of the risk assessment? And then your risk treatment. How did you deploy control to treat it? This is in practice now. And you also document it. These are the risks we had. This is how we treated it. And this is and then that is operation. Operation is now, you are putting in practice what you plan in number 6. So you are doing the actual work now. So here we have what is called performance evaluation. That is number 9, performance evaluation. Remember, the clauses are 4 to 10. 4 to 10. So number 9, performance evaluation. Now you have done your planning. You are doing your implementing. So we have done the P, we have done the PD, we have done the D, which is the doing. So remember, everything can work together at the same time. Yeah. So does not mean that you are going to follow it clause by clause. Everything can work together. You are planning, you have done your planning, you are doing your performance evaluation. What it means that you are now going to evaluate how are we doing. How are we doing? We're going to have series of meetings and so the first one is monitor, measure, analyze, evaluate. So we're going to be monitoring how is it going? Is it going according to plan? Are we doing the risk assessment according to how we put it that we're going to do it? Are we, as if all the policies we have documented, we have written all our policies, we are now implementing them. Is it going according to plan? How do you go to measure it? Our objective says we are going to reduce our incident. Now, as the ISMS is being implemented, are we having incident? Are we actually reducing our incident? Our objective says we are going to protect our customers' record. How many incidents have we had? How many breaches have we had? Has any of our customers' record been compromised? So you are monitoring to see, are they working as it should? Are they working as it should? And then that is measure. You have to determine how you want to measure, how you want to, and then the 9.2 talk. One of the ways to also assess your performance is through internal auditing. You need to conduct an internal audit, and it tells you this is the procedure in how you want to conduct internal audit. You have to come up with an audit program. Define your scope. This is not about auditing, but auditing is a separate topic on its own. I have a videos on auditing question and answer. So you have to conduct in part of your management, part of your performance evaluation is monitoring, do internal auditing, then you do management, come up with an audit program, conduct regular auditing, and then ensure. And then another thing that is under performance evaluation is management review. You need to review, hold meetings. This is what we call meeting. Management review meeting. You meet either monthly or quarterly to review all those things. You review it. Performance evaluation is management review is the main meeting that we evaluate our performance, because it tells you everything you're going to put on the agenda for the meeting. So everything here, you have status on the, like, for this, like here, what is here like an agenda for the meeting. All the IT guys, the key guys who are the who is who in cybersecurity, we have to come up with a review meeting monthly or quarterly. So this is the agenda. Like, for example, what is the status of the previous meeting? What are the changes? There are changes in internal issue, changes in the needs or expectation. These are the things we are going to be discussing in that meeting. Then, do you have feedbacks? Do you have feedbacks from employees, from internally or from external? Do you have feedback about how the ISMS is doing? So you have to also take into consideration what are the feedback you are getting. You have done your measurement. What is the result? You discuss it. You have done your audit. What is the result? You discuss it in that meeting. And then you are is the something fulfilling objectives. So these are the feedback from interested parties, both internally and externally. You have done your risk assessment. What are the risks? So this in that meeting you also review this. So this A to G should form part of the agenda. Remember, I was told one time to come up with an agenda for management meeting. I'm going to be doing management meeting. I just came to the standard and lifted everything from here, modified it, and it became the agenda. And then also at the end of the day, you have the minute of the meeting showing the actions, your observation, the action plan. So the action plan for this meeting will now form the status and action from previous meeting. So you have to have action plan and then assign action to people. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do, and the time. Then so the last one is improvement. So you have come up with continuous improvement. So remember we are doing PDCA. So here we are doing the performance evaluation. Performance evaluation is a part of the C, which is check. So performance evaluation is the check aspect of it. PDCA. Performance evaluation is the check aspect. That is the C. And so that performance evaluation, which is number 9, is the C. You are checking. You have planned, you have done, which is PD. C, you are checking now. Checking to see that everything is working. And then the A, which is the art, is the improvement. So the purpose of the improvement here is to ensure that you have to come up with measures. If you hold those meetings and things are not working according to plan, you need to take action. That is the action, continuous improvement. What are the things that we need to improve? You must have discussed that in your meeting, and then you carry them out. Non-conformities and corrective action. This is how some people will have what is called a non-conformity form for non-conformity. If you've done your audit, something non-conformity is like a deviation from the standard, or a deviation from your policy. They are not doing according to what you have planned. That is a non-conformity. Something is not working well. And then corrective action is that when there is a deviation, you observe that there is a deviation, you have to take corrective action. That is action that is needed to correct that non-conformity. So people have, you have to come up with a non-conformity and corrective action statement. It's a document. You list all the non-conformity you have observed all through the audit and all through your meeting and all through your measurement. And then in front of that, you have the non-conformity. For example, password security is not working well, or people are not hiring, they're not doing background. That is a non-conformity. They're not following your policy, they're not following the standard. And then what action are we going to take is to ensure that we do it is right. You put what action you need to take. So in that document, which is like your corrective action document or non-conformity document, you put what is the non-conformity, what is the action, who is responsible, by who's going to do it, what date, and then you keep monitoring the status. Has it been done or not? Now, if it has been done, the status will be changed to completed. Otherwise, you will say ongoing. So that is, you have to have a non-conformity. Reviewing non-conformity, what caused it, why did they happen? What action do we need to implement to correct it? What is the nature? What is the result? So you have to document all the non-conformity and the action you have planned to, just like you are dealing with the audit result. So all the non-conformity you have observed. So basically, that is entire clause 1, the 7 clauses, which is number 4 to 10. So yeah, so we do what is called full GRC training. We do corporate consulting, one-on-one mentoring. If you are struggling with interviews and all that, you need mentoring, or you need a full training, contact us, and then we'll prepare you for interview. We help with your CV. We help with your CV. We help you with job experience. For those of you that say have had training because I can't get job because of job experience, we can help you with that. These are our contact details. And then please don't forget to share, subscribe, share, so that you can get notification for future videos. You can support us by buying us a coffee. We don't mind. So thank you very much for watching.